overlapped weld, you can joggle the steel so that the face side of your repair is now currently parallel to the remainder of your panel that you've repaired. So for that you need a joggler. This joggler, air operated one, put it on there. This is all it does. As you can see here, there's actually a joggle in the blade. So if you hold that onto your piece of steel and joggle a line throughout the whole width of the piece of steel, it puts a nice little edge that you can now drill holes in, or use the other side of this to punch holes in that you can plug weld with your welder. So I won't do it to this ruler obviously, but I'm just going to use this ruler for an example. This side of this tool, if you look, there's like a little tongue, a little anvil. You see it? That punches a hole in your steel. And what you get left with is a nice precise hole like it's in the end of this ruler. So that now, you've done however many that you want at whatever spacings you want. That now lies on your other part of steel, and then you fill that, plug that with the welder, and this gives you a simulated spot weld. It gives you not quite a pinch weld look, because if you set your welder wrong you have to do so much cleaning up as you won't see that visible. The idea is to weld in there with quite a hot heat so that you get lots of penetration, and then the puddle will sink into that little dimple on this punched hole, and that leaves the little ringlet so that you can see that it looks like a spot weld. That's I would suggest getting 2 or 3 pieces of steel, setting the tool up, setting the heat of the welder, setting the wire feed, and we'll be doing this in the next couple of videos, so that you can leave a little puddle that the heat of this goes so hot it like draws back through to the second piece of steel and leaves a dimple in the top rather than filling it over. That's quite hard to set up, but once you've got the welder set right, and most of the welders that I've seen around in body shops and things, they've got a little piece of Tipex or a little piece of white paint marking on the machine itself, so that the next time they come to do that little plug welds, they have a little reminder of how to set it, which is a good one. Right, going back to my air chisel, there's obviously an array of things that you can do with the air chisel. It comes with a set of discs, a set of chisels yourself, with all sorts of different tips. Round tips, centre removing, cut-out tips, chisel type tips, all sorts of different tips. All got various different uses, and we'll go through those as and when we get the steel in and start using those. The only thing I will say, and it's a misconception really, if you've drawn out some spot welds, you've still got quite a lot of rigidity and strength in a panel you're trying to pull off. A lot of people grab one of these chisels, just the straight one, and stick that between the 2 pieces of panel that were spot welded together and chisel away. That is very, very thick. Yeah, you can use that in certain circumstances, especially if the parts that you're splitting, some of it's going to be to waste or so anyway. If that's for rapid removement and you're going to take 3 or 4 layers of steel work off to repair it. Don't be fooled into using that to separate panels that you want to be sort of respectful of its strength and shape. One of the best things I use, if you've got a steel construction site close to you, the guys use a machine hacksaw, electric motor with a big band on it with a machine hacksaw blade, and the hacksaw blades are about as big as this ruler. They're about 1.5–2 millimeters thick. What I try and do is get their old ones that they've broken or just blunt, grind off the teeth so that you don't actually hurt yourself, so that you can actually hold it as a chisel, and just sharpen the one end. Those are very flexible and they're very hard when tapped from the end, so that will actually run a shape splitting off spot welds very, very easily. They do make proper chisels for splitting the panel work, but to be quite honest, it's not really worth buying when there's a source of old hacksaw blades, and they work really, really well. As with all these tools, and I've said this before, especially with my spray gun collection, tools like this one, as I said, 40 years old. And if you see the model number, you chase the model number, you'll know that is extremely, extremely old. So I'm not making it up. Grinder saw. If you want them to last, if you want them to go forever, you have to treat them with respect. You also have to follow the instructions. Every one of these tools, without exception, has got an oil daily sticker on it. You have to. In a bodywork environment, you've got dust, metal swarf, paint, all sorts of things that's actually getting into these tools, either from the front or through your air source. Must oil them. I've showed you guys these before. My little dropper box that I use, at least once a day or every other day, at least 3 or 4 little drops of this, and these tools will last, like I say, forever. 40 years. That'll outsee me, I expect. The oil that I've been using, and you can see how much is in the bottle, so you can see I religiously do use it. It's going down. Lots of different makes out there. I'm not going to promote any make whatsoever. This actually came free with a compressor that I bought, a little home one years ago. This is actually the SIP advanced oil. This bottle is probably 2 years old, 3 years old, I would think, probably by now. So in that time, this is at home. All these tools I'm showing you now are my tools that I use at home, not the ones I use at work. So I've used half a litre, roughly, just a little bit less, in the last couple of 3 years, through that little eye bottle. Or I also have this as well. This is just like a little squirty bottle thing. It's exactly the same. Because the oil level's going down, I'm using this in the bottle just to drip now. So look after your tools, air tools. I've seen on eBay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tools, air tools. Some of them in batches of 20 or 30, just thrown out on a piece of concrete, saying some work, some won't. Haven't tested them. They've basically been destroyed. They've basically been destroyed. These air tools, they will actually last forever. Little bit of oil in them. I've never had any sets of blades or anything wear out in them so far. There's like little carbon fibre, we'll say, blades inside that as the air goes through, they actually catch the air to actually turn the centre, the armature, we'll say, of the tool. I personally have never had any problem with the air tool that I've ever needed to take apart. I've always started off with lots of oil, kept going, and it's no problem, it's no issue. The tool works better if it's lubricated right. There's less vibration. It starts when you push the trigger. There's nothing worse than pulling the trigger and you just get an air exhaust sound and you've got to spin it by hand to kick start it. I've seen DA sanders doing that, and people's doing this, and of course the DA sander spins fast in the one direction. As soon as you've like kick started it, we'll say, as soon as you put that on the panel, it's now graunched some lines in. So unless it starts up actually oscillating, it'll cause you more grief than putting 3 drops of oil in. So that's where you need to be. Right, as I said, this will only be a quick one today. I just thought you guys thinking I'm not doing any more. I'm going to do lots more now. I've sort of got myself back together. As I say, big loss with my dog, so that's going to be a thing that I'm going to have to bear with for a little while. I've still got dog toys in the garden. I've still got dog run that I need to take down and things. That's going to be a while before I get round to that. Next time then, I will do some hammer and dolly chats. Obviously when you buy a set of panel beating hammers and dollies, there's a numerous array of dollies that you can buy, some for keeping the panel straight, some for keeping the panel curved, some for shrinking, some for bending, all sorts of things. So we'll be going through that, and also going through, I have things like this on my bench. This is a, I think this one's 25 kilo in weight chunk of steel. and I've also got the same with a round one. Big chunk of heavy steel as well. These are ideal on the bench for doing a little bit of fettling, we'll say, when panels just don't meet up right, or you're trying to form just a little piece of a repair of a wheel arch, to turn a lip, things like that. We can use things like this as a tool. I suppose it's a modern day take on an anvil, really. So that's what we'll be doing next. I'll go through the panel beating equipment, what we would use for what, and in the third one I'll bring the steel in, and we'll show you how to set curves, how to cut out patches, how to do the joggling, how to do the plug welding. We'll set up the welder, show you how to set up the welder. I'll try and rig up a welding glass for the camera. I'll have to have a play with that to see whether you can, if I can rig the camera up very close to the welding so you can actually see what you're looking for when you're welding, because normally on most videos all you see is a mass of this neon type blue light and you can't actually see what's going to happen. I watch a guy on YouTube called Welding Tips and Tricks, Jody the guy's name is. If you want to know anything about welding, go to his channel. He's probably one of the world's best welders. The stuff that he does is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But once again, he's rigged up his camera so that you can actually see what's going on, and that's where you can understand how to melt a puddle and how to keep the weld going and how to get your nice little ripples looking symmetrical and things like this. So yeah, welding tips and tricks, that's a good one to go for. Right, only a short one, as I say, trying to keep it sweet. Just getting back into the realms of doing this. I'll just try and do at least one a week from now on, and then we'll otherwise we'll be running out of time to get the vehicles sort of finished right at the end date. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for all my subscribers so far. I see the numbers are still going up. I see the interest and the amount of videos are starting to be watched quite impressively now, so thank you all for that. Once again, that's given me a bit more motivation to crack on and do some more for you. So hope that was interesting. If you guys have any bits and pieces of tools like this hanging around at home and you want to just put them on the bench and wait for the next week or so, and obviously you can have a play with yourself with your own tools as I'm talking you through doing bits and pieces. Hope that was fun. Once again, thanks for hanging around even though I've not been for quite a few weeks. See you again shortly. Cheers now.